As a teenager, Ahmed grew up as a rebellious kid, often found up to no good in Sydney's west.
I used to go on the weekends help my uncle on in his kayak, and I loved it, And I remember once I saw my uncle out of a can go and get petrol out of something into something else, like shifting petrol. And I thought, I want to try that. And I did a few too many, and I kind of just dazed out. And I thought, this feels good. And my uncle kind of noticed, what's wrong with this guy? And subhanAllah, I ended up fainting and vomiting, and they took me to the hospital, and then my mum started crying, oh, my son's a junkie, and we don't want to wreck him, and all this stuff. And then I go, you know what, let's speak to the sheikh, let's find an alternative, let's send him off to Pakistan. That's how I ended up in Pakistan.
So in a bid to save their son, Ahmed's parents did what any other concerned migrant parent would do: send their son to Pakistan to memorize the Quran.
Did it work?
Man, I got taught a lesson, bro.
Did you memorize Quran?
Yeah, I did. I memorized a lot of the Quran. I came back here and to the Kemba Mosque, and I remember Sheikh Days, Allah yarhamu, I had the hamama on, and I was this 14 and a half, 15-year-old, and he said, you're going to lead the prayer, and that's subhanAllah, that's kind of always my foundation. The Quran was always there.
It was a beautiful connection he shared with his religion. But after settling back into Australia, a newfound passion began to simmer inside him. It was the late 80s, and of course, all the craze surrounded this guy.
I'll be back.
And Ahmed wasn't immune.
It was the school week, Christmas holidays, the 6 weeks. I used to stay out with my cousins, and they used to go to the PCYC at Bankstown and play basketball. So I went with them, and I was this little skinny twig, weighed 40 kilos, and I heard all this groaning, and I kind of followed the noise, and it took me to this room. So I saw all these gorillas, and I love this. This is where I want to be. And I remember my first bench press was just a bar with no weight. We measured our biceps, and my biceps were like 11 inches. And I said, you wait, in 1 year, they're going to be 12 inches. Wait and see.
It wasn't long until Ahmed was enticed into the glamorous world of bodybuilding, quickly collecting achievements that he still carries to this day.
This is my man cave. The history here, everything's history here. That was my first ever bodybuilding trophy. I won.
Oh, yeah,
I was a teenager.
Bodybuilding trophy.
I couldn't even afford to eat back then. Like, my food was like a can of tuna for 60 cents because we were like 17 years old, and I was learning, and I achieved to win a comp eating off a couple of dollars a day.
It was a sport that was built for him, yet with no money in his pocket, Ahmed needed to find a way to sustain his love for the game. He soon found a job at the local grocery store, and it was through this he stumbled upon an unexpected passion.
And I remember my first job when I was on my P's. I would drive down to Homebush to work at Woolworths, and I would drive through into the cemetery on the way because I had a few hours to kill. So I would kill time there. And from there, subhanAllah, I used to see the cemetery as a place for tranquility, peace.
So Hajj Ahmed, this is perhaps where your story all began when you're 17 years old.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right here. I used to come here, and I started to walk around. I used to read the names, I used to just walk around aisle after aisle and read names and ponder. So I would see overgrowth, back then. No maintenance. So I bought a whippersnipper or whatever money I had. And I used to come here before work. I used to whippersnipper and
Clean what you could.
clean what I could, yeah. And subhanAllah, man, that was amazing.
It was a feeling he couldn't explain, and a place he cared so deeply for. The passion would soon transform into a career, and Ahmed soon landed a job digging graves in the cemetery. Now, with the money coming in, he was able to take his training more seriously, and soon enough, Ahmed became a beast in the game, or more precisely, a mammoth, the Aussie mammoth. Seriously, that was his actual gym name, Tabarakallah. The gym became his home away from home, and it was a home Ahmed graciously invited me into to see for myself. I mean, this place was so close to home for him, he even knew the guys on the wall. Yeah, that guy.
That's Ronnie Coleman.
Isn't that your mate?
Yeah.
Ronnie Coleman's your mate.
Yeah. Next to him there's the lightweight, yeah, baby. So that was his saying. Lightweight, yeah, baby. I lived with him for a bit, and when he came to Australia, he came like 9, 10 times.
Yeah.
He'd always come to my house, I'd look after him. So I built a relationship with him. We never talked bodybuilding. We talked life.
Ahmed would go on to spend years in the gym, perfecting his physique. And since I was here, it was only right I got in one session.
Please forgive me if I embarrass myself. I haven't trained in a long time.
And clearly I was already coming up with excuses.
No, it's okay. I got this. Done? What do you say? Lightweight, yeah, buddy.
Slow down, small guy. But anyways, I think I got a bit too carried away with him spotting me that I tried to see how far I could push myself.
No other time in the world will I ever attempt something like this, but when you got someone like this spotting you, I think I'm in safe hands.
Come on, what's that?
Yeah, I don't think he was impressed.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go. All right.
What? Okay. For you, come on, mashallah, come on.
I know what you're thinking. Did this little guy just pull that off? Elhamdulilah. I mean, just having him tower over me was all the inspiration I needed. But anyways, back to the story. As Ahmed climbed up the bodybuilding ranks, the show wasn't long until he began rubbing shoulders with his teenage icons.
You've got Arnold Schwarzenegger. What was it like meeting with Arnold?
First time I met him, I was, I freaked out a bit because this is Terminator. I remember.
Hasta la vista, baby.
It was good. It was a good experience. It was great. It was what I wanted at the time. You got it.
Comp after comp, trophy after trophy, it was a sensation he couldn't get enough of. But as he gradually worked his way to the top of the industry, a new peak began to emerge on the horizon.
And I remember, the day I got my pro card and I became a professional bodybuilder. I rang my wife, I said to my wife, put the pies in the oven, I'm coming home. I said, that's it. I've accomplished that goal. I did it. That's all I ever wanted to was be able to do it. And I had no more passion for jumping on stage. It kind of just came out of me. And I thought, it's time to move on to something else now. And that's where I started thinking, I'm pretty artistic, I'm pretty good at putting things together. So I started to help people build gyms, and I did some of that in Dubai, and I started doing my own gyms, and it just grew from there.
The Aussie mammoth was able to turn his buzz into a business and landed deals across the Arab world with the sheikhs and the princes. The money started coming in fast, and Ahmed was enjoying it.
This is a 458. This car is basically like a collector's car now. They don't make them anymore. So they're the last of the naturally aspirated engines.
But it wasn't just the fast cars.
This is also a pilot's logbook. We're talking about planes now. Have you owned a plane? Have you owned your own plane?
Yeah, planes are cheaper than cars.
Really?
Well,
what kind of Ferraris, obviously, but
yeah, like Cessnas,
Clearly, this conversation was kind of out of my league. But anyways, you get the point. He was living it. Yet amidst all the glory and worldly success, his inner child began screaming out to him.
Because I was in Pakistan when I was younger, doing Quran and Deen, felt I wasn't giving that what it should. And I thought to myself, we're Muslim, thank God we'll have a little bit more to think about. That's where it started to open the way that, I don't think this is not as glamorous as it looks on the outside.
Things were just not right, and it lingered with him everywhere he went.
When I was in the bodybuilding game, I was known as the backstage man. So I would prep all the competitors, and obviously it was mixed, men and women. And the women aren't wearing abayat, and they're calling you, Ahmed, can you come put my number on? And some of them in there have got half their clothes off, and you're going in there calling such and such to the front, such and such. And every subhanAllah, when I did that work, that was the lowest point of my life, because I would always look at the time and I'd say, it's time to pray. I would have to go find the room to pray. And I'd sit there and go, Ya Allah, take this love of this game for me out of my heart. Wallah, wallah. Allah, I used to ask Allah, as much as I love bodybuilding and the sport, don't make it a love for me anymore. I love training, but don't make this aspect of it that I've been doing for 20 years part of my life anymore.
It was a prayer that would soon come into fruition, but in a manner he never expected. He was hit with a kidney failure that left him hospitalized, bedridden, and in a severe state of denial.
The doctors would tell me, your kidneys aren't looking good. And I say, yeah. You know what I did today? I just bench pressed 200 kilos. I just did this, I did that. That was my attitude. And then subhanAllah, when it all came down and it all crumbled, it all collapsed, I started dialysis. And when dialysis started, I said to him, I don't want to do this dialysis anymore. They said, you'll be dead. I said, we're all going to die. That was the exact word said. I said, we're all going to die, right? They said, we'll give you 4 weeks. I said, for what? They said, 4 weeks, you'll survive. And wallah, when he said that, it just resonated in my head. I said, well, 4 weeks, I won't see my wife and kids. And I was just looking at death.
Yet as traumatic as the episode was, it was the opening to his transformation.
Do you know, humans, when we go to our lowest point in life, we always turn back to Allah. SubhanAllah, when I did get a kidney, alhamdulillah, and I did be blessed by a brother, may Allah reward him and grant him the highest of paradise, donated the kidney to me. So I got a chance to live again. And I said, when that happens, I will never turn back to that life again. I will never go back to what I was doing before. If it wasn't for the sake of Allah, or for benefiting our community, or for benefiting my akhirah, I don't want anything to do with it. And that's what kind of drew me back into going harder in what I do. And this is where I am today.
It was the exact moment the Aussie mammoth became the Muslim Undertaker.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry, but yeah. He turned his back on the bodybuilding industry and returned back to his roots, back to where it all began as a teenage boy finding fulfillment in the cemetery. But this time, it wasn't owning the graveyard, but the washing room.
All right, my brother, this is the room here. This is called the washing room. This shroud comes in 100-meter rolls.
This is your final gun.
Where's your wardrobe now? Where's the labels? Where's the designer names that you sacrificed so hard to buy? They're all back at home in your wardrobe. This is what you're going to wear. Sadar, the lotus, this is like bark crushed, which makes soap. Okay, this is kamfur. Smell that. They call it the smell of death.
Oh man, that's scary.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, it's haunting.
And this is what's put on the second wash in the water to preserve the body.
It was clear that Ahmed had a deep understanding of the funeral world, a knowledge he's primarily inherited from his teachers.
I used to assist the guy washing all the time, the old man, Haj Abu Nabil Atar. And he taught me how to wash, He rocked up one day when I was washing a young guy, out of nowhere, the old guy. He got a chair and he placed it right in front of the washing table. And he said, Ballish, start. I made a dua, Rabbi Shah Yusuf. And I said, Ahmed, you got this, Allah's with you, just do what you do. And I started washing. I finished the wash. He got up, he said, come. He put his hand on my leg, in his hand. He said, I'm happy now. If I pass away, you can wash me. He got up and he walked off. And I looked at him at the window as he was walking off. And one of the people said to me, he's coming back. I said, no, he came to say goodbye. 10 days later, I was washing him. He was probably one of the hardest washers. The hardest part was when I stand on the head and I put the soap in, I clean the body, the face, and I did it on him. It was exactly the way he taught me how to do it. And when I did it on him, I broke down because I just said, this is what he taught me how to do. Allah Akbar, subhanallah.
It's a position Ahmed has upheld with great diligence, and a role that has given him access to some of the deepest secrets and stories our community holds.
This cover here, brothers, it's got the New Zealand feather on it and that. This was a New Zealander brother, came a couple of weeks ago, passed away. Died at home, and he was sick for a little while, 9 months or a year. He was covered in this when we
could find. We focused locally, just like our sponsor, National Zakat Foundation, a brilliant charity that collects your zakat and distributes it locally to those most in need. Through the effective distribution of your zakat, they're able to empower local Muslim communities for generations to come. Please consider supporting them where you can. Let's get back to the video. I wanted to find out how on earth this small Muslim community living out in the middle of nowhere was able to survive for so long. So I flew all the way out to Cairns in North Queensland to find out for myself. I was greeted at the airport by a dear friend, Sami, an Australian Albanian Muslim who was going to be my guide for the trip. Given that the earliest Muslims living in Mariba originally came from Albania, Samir's guidance was going to be crucial. Of course I was filming him. I was on a journey to capture everything there was to know about one of the oldest surviving Muslim communities in Australia. And after a long winding drive, I finally made it to the town I was looking for, Mariba. And as expected, it was really, really dead. But I had a story to capture, so off we went, and the first gateway to our journey was a massive 66-acre coffee farm originally belonging to one of the earliest Muslim Albanians to arrive in Australia, Jack Murat. By the way, that's not him. That's his son, Plum. And today, he runs the farm.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
How are you today?
Very well, thanks. Yourself?
It's an honour to be on Jack Murat's coffee farm.
Pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
You've got a firm grip.
Thank
Firm grip, tough hands.
Not gonna lie, my hands were gone. But hey,
Welcome to Mariba.
Thank you so much.
Queensland.
Thank you for hosting us.
Well, what you see out there, of course, is a coffee plantation.
Okay, all the coffee.
Yeah.
You've got Jack Murat. That's obviously your father's
That's the brand of the coffee we produce and sell, yes.
over the front of the coffee plantation. You said that Jack was his Australian English name,
Yeah.
and his Albanian name was
Humet.
Humet.
Yeah.
Humet Murat.
Yeah. That's what you call him, Jack.
Everyone here called him Jack.
Jack Murat arrived in Australia in 1929 after escaping war-torn Albania in desperate search of a means of survival. Farms across North Queensland were booming and in need of strong workers. Jack quickly took up the opportunity and made a name for himself.
He looks very strong from the photos.
Would have been a hard life, yeah, for sure.
And this photo was taken in the late 1940s.
Correct.
Jack Murat. This is a coffee plantation. We're talking about 60 years in operation. Jack Murat's coffee farm. This is crazy.
Almost a century after his arrival, the farming legacy left by Jack is still being carried forward, not only by Plum, but the rest of the Murat brothers in Mariba.
What's your relationship like working with your brothers?
It's good.
Yeah? You guys work together.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what you have to do. You get
Who's
up
the
in morning
hardest
and do it.
worker from your brothers in the farm?
Yeah. You
Who's
get
the hardest
political now, aren't you? I'm not going to answer that question.
All right then.
You want to stir the women up, do you?
No.
Plum clearly wasn't interested in answering my challenging questions, so I had to look elsewhere. It was time to move on to my next stop, this time to meet with Plum's eldest brother, Iskander. He's the quintessential example of what an Aussie farmer looks like. The only difference is he rocks a hefty beard and a sunnah hat. But before we could meet with Iskander, I had one of his workers show us around.
Muhammad works on the farm out in Mariba. He's married into the family of Iskander right there. And Tabarakallah does a brilliant job. If you want to know what an Aussie farm looks like, just check out the hay behind me. It's like a giant tractor with giant bales of hay. This is an incredible farm holding sugarcane and what else?
I clearly had no idea what farm life was about. But if I knew one thing about Queensland farms growing up, it was the bananas.
Banana, banana, banana.
Thanks, Muhammad. Without further ado, it was time to meet with the head of the Murat brothers, Iskander, and get a real taste of what Aussie farming was about.
Cows here, the cows we eat, organically, fresh cows, organically.
Anyways, Bismillah.
This is a baler,
Yeah, a baler,
which we make hay bales.
haystack. So the haystacks that we saw coming in,
Yeah, that's the
and you've got your proper
Yes.
Aussie outback view.
Yeah, we need it
Control.
for farm. You listen to control
Mhm.
to make just keep an eye on things on the farm. This is our sugarcane crop.
Sugarcane, all this is sugarcane.
Yeah,
Well, it's hot. It's actually hot.
it is hot. It's the only rain mustn't be too far away. Yeah.
Check this out.
this is equipment we have these days. When Dad started, this was his first new tractor.
So this is your dad's tractor?
First new tractor that he had.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and that goes back to 1953 or 4.
Wow, this belongs in a museum.
But if I thought this was historical, right across the road lived the grandson of the earliest ever Albanian Muslim to arrive in Australia. His name was Abdul Rahim, and his connection stretches all the way back to 1924. Vegemite, I was not joking.
Come on. They're very perceptive horses. They see more people and they say, it doesn't matter, they come up.
Abdul Rahim and his wife Heather are etched into the history of Australia.
We had his grandfather, we've got him, we've got our daughters, and we've got their children, and now we've got a great-grandson as well, so it's almost 6 generations.
Six generations. Yeah, Muslim Albanians in Australia.
It was an incredible piece of Muslim history hidden all the way at the top of Australia.
Yeah, this is another photo of Dad and neighbouring kids, eh?
This is all the way back in the 1940s.
Yeah, they were the days.
You remember your father taking you out to the farm?
Oh, well, yeah, he made us go out to the farm. Yeah. Oh, in those days, the kids were part of the farm.
Mm-hmm.
They were part of the workforce.
Yes, no child labour policy back then. It's all fine. It's all turn a blind eye. It's all sweet.
After school or before school or on weekends, they'd be out there doing some sort of work.
The women, they used to do all the shed work. And it wasn't easy. It was fairly physical work. They ended up with muscles.
We did.
This was very heartwarming, but I was still yet to unpack the most important question. How have they remained Muslim for so many generations? This is where I met with the youngest of the Murat brothers, Benjamin. And it only took a few moments with him for me to be taken aback by his profound sense of faith and connection with Allah.
What beauties in this, subhanAllah. So many examples in our garden, you see the artistry of Allah. So many examples. You can see the comparisons of all the colours and the foliage. So you sit back and you look, wow, look at all the contrast, the colours, the artistry, look at it all, and you just doing that, you see Allah everywhere you go, subhanAllah. And when you see the animals and they come and feed on the flowers of Allah's, or the trees, and all that, when they're feeding off the tree that you have planted, you get a reward for every bird that's feeding off that tree. For every seed they eat, you get one hasanah. It's a natural aspect of living. Islam is part of nature.
He had such a unique understanding of Islam that was almost exclusive to country folk and farmers.
How does your religion